All right, so last time we said that matter was all the stuff in our universe. Next up, we're going to take a look at the phases of matter. So in this picture up here, we see some water. Right down here, we see an iceberg up here, and then up top, we see a cloud. And so all of these things are made out of the same type of matter. They are all water. They are all H2O. The difference is their phases, right? In this iceberg, we have a solid phase. In this bottom here, we have the liquid phase. And then in the top, in the clouds, we have the gaseous phase. So let's talk about these three phases. And so we'll talk about them in terms of the macro kind of world. So that's what we're seeing on the left side of this picture, right? Is it kind of flowing? Is it water? Is it solid type of thing? And then we're going to take a look at the intermolecular side of things. And so that's what's shown on the right here. What's happening to these molecules? So let's start off with a solid, and solids get the symbol of S for solids. So the defining characteristic of solids is that they are rigid. And so what that means is that they don't take the shape or the volume of a container. So do not take shape / volume of container. And then we have to think about what's going on the intermolecular level. What's happening to the molecules of a solid? And so the main characteristic of the molecules of a solid is that they don't move from position to position. They just vibrate about a fixed position. So molecules vibrate about a fixed position. Cool. So that's solids taken care of. Our next state of matter will be liquid. So liquid gets the symbol of a cursive L. And so if we think about a liquid, if you pour some water into a glass, it'll take the shape of the glass, but as long as you don't pour too much water, it won't take up all the volume of the glass. So we'll say that they take the shape, but not the volume of a container. And so unlike solids, liquids are free to move around from place to place. So in the molecular level, what we say is that the molecules are rolling around one another. They're still in constant contact with one another, but they can switch places with one another. And then finally, we have a gas. So gas gets the symbol of G. And so if you think about a gas, it's going to take both the shape and the volume of a container. And so if we think about what's going on in the molecule, for a gas molecules, the molecules are just flying around all over the place. Right? They're colliding with one another, colliding with the walls. They're flying all over the place, not constantly touching each other, unlike a liquid. So I have another picture for you here. Just demonstrates the same thing that we talked about. So on the left here, we have a solid, right? So we put these little squares in here. They don't take the shape or the volume of the container. And these molecules are just vibrating about a fixed position. They cannot move from place to place. They just vibrate in place. Next up, we have a liquid. You can see it's taken the shape of the container, but not the volume. And in this case, these liquid molecules can move around from place to place, switch around with one another. And then finally, we have the gaseous state. You can see that the gaseous state has taken the shape and the volume of the container. and that these molecules are just kind of flying around all over the place, maybe colliding with one another, colliding with the walls as well. And so those are the three main types of matter. You want to kind of know them pretty well, know the macro explanation and the intermolecular explanation. But there is actually a fourth state of matter. So this fourth state of matter is what's known as a plasma. And a plasma is defined as an ionized gas. So we'll learn about ions later on, but basically ions are positive or negative charges. And so a plasma has very similar properties to a gas. It's just that it's formed out of ions. So it's a gas that has kind of charge. And so you've probably seen plasmas before in one of these kind of like cool little toy things. Since they're made out of charged particles, electricity is the flow of charge. So in one of these kind of globe things is plasma. And then if you touch it, the electricity will flow into your finger or whatnot. But basically that's what a plasma is. And in terms of kind of the energetics of everything here, if you have your lowest energy state of matter, generally you have a solid, right? You see these things are vibrating about their fixed position. We add some more energy in, we get a liquid. Now these things can kind of roll around one another. Then finally we get a gas. They're kind of far apart, flying all over the place. And then we have a plasma, which is basically the same thing as a gas, except now we have locations of positive and negative charge. So those are your four states of matter. You want to know them pretty well.